My presentation title is Too Many FCs. It was purposely misleading, and there's no subtitle right now. We're just going to move on. There we go. So I'm going to share with you a project with you that will be a new way to experience Eve in a way that you never have before with a game that you already love. All right? While contemplating how I'd present this new idea or this new experience, I just didn't quite know how I would do the big reveal. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take a step back and maybe kind of figure out how I got to this point. Why it's maybe uniquely part of my experiences and how this came to be. So I hope that you'll enjoy a short little maybe autobiography, get to know me a little bit more, and then hopefully it'll kind of fall in line of like why we're here. There might be some foreshadowing, so I hope that those that have been speculating all this time maybe will start to open maybe their thinking and maybe guess what I'm about to share before I even get there. All right, so first steps, okay? Let me take you back as a child in the 80s, okay? I know you're thinking, I'm old, don't do the math. I don't want to either. And this is my first battle station. It looked a lot like this. This is actually not a picture, but this is an experience that I had growing up. Had some cheap desk, floppy disk holder, a lot of peripherals. But the most important component was this Commodore 64. You can see at the bottom of the screen. It sports a 1 megahertz processor, 8-bit, right? 64K of RAM. Yeah, I'd probably bring some of you back, I'm sure. And yes, this. Hello, my old friend. It was a completely unfriendly Microsoft basic command prompt. They were selling over 2 million of these Commodores a year, but this is how you actually interfaced with it, all right? One did not simply insert a cartridge or start up Steam if you wanted to game. As a child, I had to learn how to type load star, comma 8, comma 1. I had no idea what this meant at all. I just knew if I did this sequence, I'd get to have some fun. And I just repeated it every time. After pressing the enter key, you would be rewarded with something like this. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I don't know why this monster is on here, but it's called Zaxxon. Originally, there was a robot that was part of this series of games, but at some point, it was like Godzilla or whatever. And this is maybe considered like my first introduction to space games, even though they had plane at the bottom, and who knows, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think this kind of sparked my enthusiasm for space games, so there's a little foreshadowing. All right. This is also my first development machine, so I learned how to program for the first time on the Commodore 64. Here's just a little simple hello world. You had to do a lot of go-tos and prints, and it was kind of magical because you got to think of something that you could create, and you could create it right there. You didn't need to hammer nails, and it was my first introduction to that. And really, I would have to attribute now in my real life that I'm a software developer to this machine. It was that important. All right. The 90s. I wore my first plaid shirt, and it's stuck with me ever since. But you don't want to hear any more about the 90s. Let's move on. The 2000s. Just kidding. We're going to keep going. We're really moving now, and let's fast forward to 2011. This is when I started playing EVE Online. I had humble beginnings, and little did I know that EVE would play such a dominant and positive role in my life for the next nearly 8 years now. And that would later engage in the game by pursuing new and novel ways that blurred the edges of the sandbox. Had no idea that that was my course. And I don't know what drives me to this. Perhaps it's just being like a wannabe hipster my whole life. Not sure. This is my first ship. It was the Hurricane. Yeah. You might be able to guess what my next ship is, but this is my first ship. This is what I got my first kill in. And at that time, especially as a new player, anything bigger was better, right? And this, it did it for me. It was just, I'd see the guns, and it was so much fun. I joined EVE Uni. That was my first corporation that I joined. As a new player, I did not know what to think about this new experience, honestly. I was like, I'm just playing a video game. But I had to join and read a bunch of documents. With lingo, I had no idea what they were talking about. Like, what's a war deck? No idea. I had to schedule an interview. All this was to ensure that I wouldn't be a member that would feed to the bad war deckers, right? Later, this became my new favorite ship, the Drake. Yeah, it has a special place in my heart. My apologies. And later, me and my friend, we left EVE Uni, and we hopped into a wormhole. And I didn't have enough skill points to actually fly this ship properly in the wormhole that we lived in. So what I ended up doing is spending a lot of my time doing other activities that I actually had skills for. This is where I learned my love of exploration. So I was scanning and hacking and evading in wormhole space. I would also keep a signature list up to date. And I didn't know this at the time, but this would later influence EVE Scout and the Thera wormhole service that we would later found later in the game. There we go. All right. So I also, being a software developer, I discovered this website called EVE Central. It's no longer around anymore, but I was poor. I was continued to be poor, like almost my whole, maybe first 2 years. And so I set a goal to raise 1 billion ISK in my wallet. I have to think many people have had that same sort of endeavor. And so this website is what actually helped me do it. And it was my first opportunity to use my real-life skills as a software developer in-game. And so I was able to leverage that to be better at the game. I didn't have to be a faster clicker. I didn't have to know about the game as well as someone else. I could gain an advantage by bringing these skills. And I think a lot of people get to share that same experiences I have. So what was neat about this website is the way that they aggregated data. You actually had a client that would scrape the data out of the client and send it on over to the website. And they also had this big fire hose of data that would flow down from all these clients, and anybody could tap into it. And it was so much data coming down that you couldn't necessarily capture it all. It literally was a stream of data, and you just pick out what you can. And what I did is I thought, hey, I will trade from one region to another. And so what I set forth to do is write my first Python script for EVE Online, which tapped into this fire hose. I got the kind of normalized values of things that normally sold for. And then I was looking for specific anomalies, either orders that were out of whack. Someone didn't know what they had and they were selling it. Or someone put a buy order up that was maybe too high. And so what I would do is I was able to capture this data well ahead of any tools that were out there that I knew of. And I'm pretty sure there was other people out there doing the same thing as I was, because I would go to a place to try to get that one anomaly so I could maybe grow my wallet, and I would get beaten, but a lot of times I was pretty successful. And so, yeah, this was the first time that I really started to get this real life and EVE Online, where they were kind of commingling or overlapping. All right, so we've made it to 2014, and I'm starting to understand the meta and the larger community of EVE. I still remember hanging out with my friend who got me into EVE, who also was the guy that got me into the wormhole, who also was the guy who abandoned me in a wormhole for 6 months, and I kind of lost my mind temporarily. Asteroids were talking to me and things like that. We made some good friends. And we read a dev blog about this new mysterious system called Thera. And our imaginations of what it could be were all over the place. And I'll tell you, there are some things that we thought it could be, came true. There's many things that we didn't come true as well. And so what we did is, in one weekend, we decided we would resurrect this new service of Thera. And our EVE Scout and Signal Cartel later kind of grew out of that. And this was my second project doing any kind of software development. I created the website. I was the technical lead, and then we grew the community from there. This is a picture of the website that we have, and it shows you all the connections in and out of Thera. So EVE Scout was formed out of this endeavor, And we just didn't have that much time to prepare, but we got it all done. And I lovingly call Thera my home after 5 years. It's a great place. We're your best source to figure out how to get into Thera and where it goes. And not a big reveal, but I'm also going to tell you that we will be publishing all of the bookmarks in and out of Thera once the new bookmark system comes into place. And so you'll be able to enter into Thera without probes. You won't need them. Essentially, Thera, if you don't know, is a huge shortcut from one place of New Eden to another. And so I hope that you'll continue to use the service, and now it'll just be even easier. You'll just show up into the system, and you should find the bookmark. It'll be publicly available, and you just warp right in. And if you get lost or you get stuck, we'll help you. I'm really excited about this change. This is going to maybe those ideas that I have with Thera come true. All right, so out of there, this first experiment worked really well with Eve Scout as far as being a neutral entity and offering a service of great value with no cost to any of you other players. We formed Eve Scout. And the positive reputation and community of the freelance scouts of Eve Scout formed Signal Cartel. And this is probably my most proud contribution to New Eden. We've had tons of new players join the game that found a home, or even veterans alike. And the services and the programs that we have are just something very special. And I don't think I'll ever top the experience that was Signal Cartel and the friends that I've made. This was also another area that I got to leverage my real-life skills. I was the lead IT guy at the time. It was basically me and Minxie. And I had to make sure that we had all the technology things in place. And later, now that we've grown, we have a full group that is well-established and is kind of taken all over that, which is really, really great. In addition, other neat things that we never imagined with Signal Cartel spawned out because of the environment that we created. And that was really become the content that you want to see. We don't provide it as leadership. So if you have a good idea and other people can get behind it and you can be organized and you can lead, then you can start a new program. One of those is our rescue division. If you haven't heard of it, it is amazing. It is a group of people who play the game completely different than most people. They are going out and helping people out of wormholes when they get stuck. I met with one of our members last night, and he just did his 100th rescue. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, so this goes outside the bounds of the normal play activities that are provided by CCP, right? This is directly by the players, and they are having a lot of fun. I just love watching all their activity. If you want to learn more about Signal Cartel, I highly recommend just do a search for us, or you can go on YouTube and do Signal Cartel eVegas, and you'll see our talk that's 3 years old, but it's still very relevant. All right. So when we started Signal Cartel, one of my jobs was, how do we get people to know about us? And so we were doing Twitter and Reddit and all kinds of things. We kind of blasted the social media. Minxie was instrumental in that, and I was kind of learning that. She was a little bit more versed in those things, but I kind of caught on pretty quickly, and I recognized that this thing called Twitch could be a great recruitment tool, right? And so what I ended up doing was I started looking for people on Twitch, for those that had like opportunities to maybe befriend them and maybe have them join Signal Cartel, and then they could promote Signal Cartel. And every single streamer that I would like kind of stalk, so to speak, they all got picked up by other corporations pretty quickly. It was just like one after another. I was heartbroken every single time. So I started streaming myself. I said, I could do this. It's not that hard, right? And so that was the whole goal, share about Signal Cartel, the love of the game to new players and veterans alike. I tried to do my best, but I kept my expectations really, really low, okay? It was really just a mechanism to not put too much pressure on myself. And I just wanted to have fun, really. And it was and continues to be. Things did get a little larger than I intended. I never expected. But a community separate of Eve Scout and Signal Cartel kind of formed up out of this online stream that I had and the greater Eve Online streams that are beyond mine. And all of a sudden, I had like this juggling of two communities, Eve Scout and Signal Cartel that I love, and then this like new community, right? And also out of that, I got a little check mark next to my name in chat. So whenever you see me, and like this sub button. At the time, it was a big deal.
Any node.
All right.
Okay.
So
surrounded by 6 other nodes.
This is one of the things that I did.
It's typically a safe place to travel, so you can run through the middle of this. If you hit something bad here, like one of those traps, you're guaranteed 100% of the time that the system core that we're looking for is right in one of these. Guaranteed, 100% of the time, has never failed me, has never failed anybody else that I've ever heard of that understands this rule.
So I look so young there, right? Okay. Well, who here knows about the rule of 6 or has used it? That's from my stream and my community. I actually didn't name it. I actually didn't come up with it as far as knowing about this. There was a person who liked to stalk me in game and want to kill me a lot. He actually shared this. He's like my arch nemesis. And then one of my community members of the stream named it the rule of 6 because it's probably for about 3 months. I called it something different every time. So beyond just doing educational, I also looked for ways to make compelling content. And so one of the things I started doing was kind of trying to emulate the style of Evel Knievel, all right? Generally speaking, most people are not that interested in watching just a motorcycle go down the street. The same is true of EVE Online, and especially of exploration, and especially if someone at EVE Scout and Signal Cartel that can't shoot people. So if people want to see things blow up, I have to be the one being blown up, not anybody else. But people are very interested in watching motorcycles jump buses with flames, and that's just a whole other thing to watch. And so I was always looking for ways to bring some drama and try my best to entertain. For those that don't know who Evel Knievel is, this is kind of what I do. I have too much money and not enough brains. So we can just substitute Evel Knievel for this guy. Here's a good example. I've flown pretty much every ship that you could doing exploration. If you look at my keelboard, it is sad. But this one right here is a Roracle, probably one of my most memorable experiences. I was in Providence, and I got jumped by TikTok, famous PvPer, and it was just him at the time. And I normally don't have to go to the restroom during my stream. I can wait it out, but this time I couldn't. I stepped away for 2 minutes, came back, and there was a bunch of dreads on grid, and I was going down quickly. Yeah. So don't go AFK when you're tackled by TikTok. All right. So when I first started watching Twitch about 5 years ago, I was captivated by the community, the creativity, and the interaction. And at that time, there was a social experiment that caught my attention. It was a huge success, and the novelty really inspired me at the time. And it just stuck with me all these years later. It was later that all my experiences, passions, skills let this small seed develop and into what I'm excited to share with you now. So that wasn't too long for a little autobiography, but I hope it explains or gives you a little insight of who I am. I'm a software developer. I like to push the boundaries of the sandbox. I like to explore new communities, and I'm always looking for a new experience. This is what we're going to present today, Twitch Plays Eve.
Welcome, pilots, to Twitch Plays Eve. You've taken the jump to a universe of endless possibilities to shape your destiny with guile and determination. But you're no longer the only one that gets to decide your fate. By tuning in and activating the extension, you will join a crew of countless other pilots and enjoy Eve from a new, collaborative perspective. The command overlay will provide as close as possible to full control and will maintain functionality of many gameplay elements. Adaptable to different scenes, the user interface will provide players with an authentic EVE Online experience. The stars are waiting for you, pilots. Fly safe.
What do you think? All right. There was a lot of speculation. I heard from many of you all kinds of crazy ideas. And I was just kind of thrilled and tickled by all of your efforts to figure out what we were going to talk about today. So I hope you're not disappointed, but you're all invited to share in this experience in a matter of a few days. October 30th, we're going to go live on twitch.tv/twitchplaysEve. So if you want to, go on over there and follow it now. Would love it. So let's talk about this a little bit. Let's spend a little time. All right, so this is kind of just a short video. It'll probably loop here as we talk about it. But this is going to be considered probably the first MMO that's done Twitch Plays. And you might not know what Twitch Plays is, so we're going to get to that in a second. It's also the very first Twitch extension that's going to be implementing a Twitch Plays experience. As we explain a little bit about Twitch Plays and the history of it, you might hopefully understand the significance. But essentially, what you see here overlays the stream. It is not baked into the stream as far as the broadcast is concerned. This is a thing that sits on top of it. And it's something that Twitch has been working on for a while as far as extensions, but never has been used in this way yet. All right, so let's talk about the history of Twitch Plays and why this is significant. So back in 2014, 5 years ago, an anonymous Australian programmer named The Streamer, all right, launched a social experiment on Twitch TV featuring a chatbot and Pokemon Red. All right. About 16 days later, the game was completed, and over 55 million people watched the stream over that 16 days. Yeah, exactly. The memes and the community that grew out of this was a phenomenon. It hadn't ever happened on Twitch before. Most other broadcasts are, one person or a group of people, but this was a community of the viewers that was dictating what was happening. And as a streamer, any time that your viewers can interact and change the stream in any way, they're excited to be a part of. It also garnered the Guinness Book of World Records. Over 1 million people participated. So 55 million people at least stopped by, 1 million participated in it, okay? And they also were the ones that broke Twitch's chat system at least 3 times, site-wide. Everything went down because there were so many people watching the stream and interacting that the system couldn't cope. And it's actually one of the reasons why Twitch's maybe chat system is as robust as it is today, because of this event. So here's a little video to show you what would happen in Twitch Plays. People would type things into the chat. They type A, B, up, down, left, right. You can see those kind of streaming right there. And it's pretty darn frustrating to play this way. But out of the frustration comes a lot of success and a lot of just kind of great moments that happen. This is just them trying to make their way across this little boardwalk. And you need to see all these commands streaming in and the difficulty just getting across here. And this goes on forever, 16 days, all right? So out of the chaos, there's just some great moments. And the memes that followed, the media that followed, this got a lot of exposure. Tons of magazines wrote about it, or online publications. It was just a kind of a great cornerstone. Here's another one. And a lot of other games followed suit. This is Twitch Plays Dark Souls. It worked as well as you think it would. Dark Souls is a hard game. And these are all sped up. So I just wanted to make it quick so you can kind of see maybe what would happen. But, falling down cliffs. And I think they spent maybe 3 hours just on this little place here trying to survive. It's just this in loops over and over. But they had unique challenges that were even beyond what they had in Pokemon. All right? So there's no audio on this on purpose, but about 3 years ago, on stream, I started thinking about this idea and kind of sharing it with the chat and getting their feedback. And you can kind of see me mapping out the idea of like, well, how would it work instead of A and B and up and down and left, right? What if we typed in O1 for overview 1? What if we typed in S1 for selected item 1? And it actually kind of flowed well. I thought that it would actually be a viable model. But life's busy. Other projects took precedence. And it also seemed just kind of maybe too complicated, or Eve is too complicated to do this. So then, last year, I started experimenting because Twitch came out with extensions shortly after this first idea of using chat. And that's how all Twitch plays have used at this point, is just inputting things into chat. But they came out with these extensions, and so far they're mostly used for, hey, use your Twitch Prime sub or some other informational purposes, and it really adds to the experience when things are overlaid that maybe give you more information. For instance, you might be watching a Hearthstone stream, and you can look at the player's deck, and you can look at the stats, and you can kind of learn about the game or how the meta is working through that streamer. So this is one of the first concepts. It actually was kind of working. I was having fun with it. I was learning some new skills, and then just life got busy again. So then we'll take you through this. So this is the overlay. Let me explain this. So at the very top here, we have 2 modes to play. One is democracy, and one is anarchy. Right now, we're in anarchy mode. Okay, so as commands are put in through the extension, those are processed by the stream or the machine that's running this character, and it's trying to execute those as quickly as possible. If we were to enter them at the same time, then one person wins, one person probably loses. But in the chaos of all of it, hopefully we'll undock. Here we have the completed commands. These show you kind of things that are coming in, and as we're in anarchy, they're actually showing you what's been completed. So you know that Frank the Bank likes to spam overview 5, and I'm trying to warp. And this is just a few of us. If we even get 100 people doing this, this will be really, really nuts as far as trying to complete anything. But there will be moments where we will have great success. All right? We also have added a challenge system. We thought this was really important because most other games, they have a linear way of determining success. Objectives to get to the next boss, beat the game. Eve is nothing like that, right? And so as opposed to leaving that all up to Twitch chat to make that decision, we're also going to provide challenges. So here's an example of one. This is fly from G to Amar. This is very basic. This one doesn't even exist anymore right now. We have some kind of really great meme ones that will be on release. But these are all things that are going to be maintained by my group of mods, but also can be influenced by all of you. So we are going to give you a description. There'll be character rewards, just like any RPG. And then we might also give you a viewer reward, just to celebrate the occasion. We'll give you a little bit of status and that sort of thing. So coming up next, let me go to the next slide here. There we go. All right, so we have a very robust command system, but here's a little demo of how democracy works. We have cooldowns, so we can configure that however we want, from 5 seconds to 10 seconds to 100 seconds, but we found about anywhere between 5 and 10 is good. And then you can see the top commands, so you get feedback of how your fellow viewers are participating. So you might be able to change your vote or pile on and that sort of thing. You also get some color codes in the commands as you can see them clicking, that sort of thing. So we thought very carefully about commands. We didn't want to make everything clickable on the screen. We wanted to make sure that the experience was really just kind of what we needed to do to get most things done. But we don't need to deal with the market or anything like that. So along the top, you'll see item commands, all the overview. You can even change tabs because navigation is important. You can see all of the high slots, mid slots, low slots that will allow you to activate modules. And there won't be any fittings, but you can open up the fitting window. We will take in either our own ships or ones given to us by the community that are viable for this character, skill points, that sort of thing. And so when you dock up, you'll have the opportunity to look at the fitting, maybe make a choice of what ship you want to fly. Here's kind of a really great example of us out mining. And we've been playtesting this for about 3 weeks. We've kept this secret, and I want to thank everyone that was involved. Thank you for keeping the secret so we could have this moment together, and then later we'll unleash it to the world. All right. So we're going to kind of wrap up here. It's looking pretty good. Some people didn't think that this could be a thing. Maybe this didn't enter into their mind, because what about the EULA, right? How could you do something like this when there's input broadcasting that's not allowed, or botting, or shared accounts? There's all kinds of things. At first, I just thought input broadcasting, but then everybody kind of brought up these other things like, what about shared accounts? Well, as I was developing this, I knew it probably wasn't a good idea just to approach CCP with a theoretical idea that maybe hasn't been executed and hope that they might be excited about it and greenlight it. And so I took the gamble of developing this first, putting it in front of CCP with the help of some great friends. And CCP was at first excited about it, and then when they got to see it for the first time, they were on board. And so I guess maybe we're the first account that doesn't have to worry about the EULA. But in many ways, if you think about it, we're not really botting because we don't get an advantage. We're not really input broadcasting because we're definitely not getting an advantage. We're going to probably stay in the station hours maybe if people want to. And it definitely is not account sharing. I won't be sharing the password with anybody. The other really unique thing that is new to this and the Twitch Plays experience is that I don't want to leave anybody out. This will live in the EVE Online directory at first, and I want other channels to have an opportunity to share with us, and their specific community, their specific chat. And so if you are a broadcaster of EVE Online or not yet, maybe you want to be, but you want to find maybe this might be the thing for you to break through, you can install this extension on your channel. You rebroadcast our channel without the overlay, because when you take off the overlay, it just looks like any game. It's just a straight client. And within your chat, you will be able to participate with all the other channels that are broadcasting at the same time. They stay in sync across the whole entire platform. All of your commands count just as much as a command that happens on the main channel. And so I hope to kind of see what happens out of this. I have no idea. There might be groups that would prefer that the ship go this way, and another group prefers to go that way. And so there might be these little clans or groups that will try to influence the game. I have set up a workstation right outside these doors. You'll see that there's kind of a bunch of people playing EVE. There's the art station, and there's this weird computer that's been sitting there. That's that. You will get to go out there today if you want to and feel how fluid this is. It's surprising how well it works. So I encourage you to play with Democracy and Anarchy mode. I will have a bunch of my crew that are not here are going to be interacting with you and trying to make it as frustrating as possible, so you get a little bit of a taste of how absurd it's going to be. So I invite you to go out there. I'll be out there as well, answering any questions if you want to talk about it or pat me on the back. I don't know. So this will be available on October 30th, as I mentioned, and it will broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, provided any technical difficulties or bad internet. My internet provider is terrible, but they've been good lately. And I'd like to wrap up with just some special thanks, really. I want to really thank CCP for getting on board on this. They're all excited about it. It's a real opportunity for us to share this game with hopefully a wider audience. I definitely built it for people that are playing EVE Online, but my background as a streamer and wanting to introduce this game to more people so more people have fun in this game so we can have more fun, I hope that's also a side effect as well. So thank you, CCP, for making this a reality, because if it wasn't for your green-lighting this, I wouldn't be here today. And thanks for letting me come here. I want to thank Streamfleet. If you don't know anything about Streamfleet, they are a marvelous group of people who care about EVE Online, not just streamers, okay? They really care about the future of this game, and they see a way to contribute to that is through helping streamers. So that way, people that are interested in the game for the first time, or maybe the veterans, stay engaged in the game and make it go. So if it wasn't for them, this wouldn't happen either. Specifically, Raiden and Miss Moses, I owe them a debt of gratitude, and they've been getting way too many hugs and not enough beers yet, so we'll have those. I have a dedicated team so far of about 20 EVE players, streamers, lots of people with experience that are going to help run this channel 24/7. They're all over the world in different time zones, and they're not there to change the experience. They're there to assist. So they're not going to moderate to make the ship go in one way or encourage another thing. They're just there to make sure everything runs smoothly. They'll also be managing the challenges and anything else that you want. We'll have a Discord, the full works. I'm really interested for you guys to join in. And if you want to be a part of this team or that sort of thing, approach me, all right? Also, Epic Zach and Tao, they were the ones that produced that video that I just got it like this morning, and we put it up there. So that's what's really great about bringing a lot of other people along is you get to use their skills and their talents to make something like this way better than I could do on alone. And so that's also why I have all these mods. I want them to experience the joys and the frustrations of this experiment, all right? And I couldn't forget my wife. She actually showed up here today, and she doesn't come to these nerdy things, but she indulges me. She indulges my EVE experience and my time and doing stupid stuff like this. All right. So that concludes my presentation. I really appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So please, please, please join me out there. I'd love to talk with you. I'd love to see some of you that were speculating, and if your mind was blown or you're like, why didn't I think of that? We'll see you out there. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see you tonight.